William, hopefully your favorite videographer. We are here at the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board meeting, the agency known as DART to Dallas, Texas residents. As a service to the Dallas community, we plan to cover DART board meetings from gavel to gavel. Public comments are required to keep DART board aware of issues close to the ridership that they may not get through other resources.
Good evening. It is now 6:35, and we are calling to order the DART Board of Directors meeting. Appreciate you coming down here this evening. And the first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes from January 23rd, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Kraus, and second by, okay, thank you. All right, the next item will be public comment. What? Oh, we need to vote. I apologize. All in favor of the minutes, please push your buttons, remember? We're voting by button tonight. Okay.
The old-fashioned button.
We voted, did it? Okay. Thank you. It was unanimous. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is our public comment portion. I'm going to read you the rules for our public comments. Public comments will be allowed at the beginning of each DART board meeting for a total of 30 minutes. And again, at the end of the meeting with the 30-minute period does not accommodate all persons who have signed up to speak. If you wish to speak at the end of the meeting, please make sure you fill out the public speaker card and turn it in to board support staff prior to the start of the meeting. Individuals who have addressed the board in the past 30 days will be recognized to speak during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. During the public comment period, board members may not interact with the speakers or other board members by asking questions or offering their own comments. Members of the public are reminded that their behavior during DART board meetings is governed by the DART Board Code of Conduct for citizens, news media, and visitors. Personal attacks, impertinent or slanderous remarks, and boisterous conduct will not be allowed. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. The green light on the podium will indicate when you may begin speaking, and the yellow light indicates that you have 1 minute remaining, and the red light indicates that your time has expired. Having said that, we have 10 people signed up to speak at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm going to ask that N. Garrett please come down, followed by Flowers Gloria, or Gloria Flowers, that's the way this is written. First speaker, N. Garnett. No N. Garnett? All right. Flowers Gloria. Thank you. Followed by Jesse Soria.
Good afternoon. Thanks for hearing me. I'm here today because I was on the train again, and my safety was questioned again. The guys were they were about to go blows each other, and frankly, I got up and almost got off the train. I would like to know what's going to happen to make me safer on the trains, when that's going to happen. Periodically, I drive and I park my car where the lights, when I leave here, I'm thinking, let me hurry up and get out of the parking lot because there's no lights where my car is parked. That's my biggest concern right now is my safety. Other than that, I was going to talk about the bathrooms. We have a lot of people that ride the trains, and I'm wondering, when you build a train, did you have older people in mind? Where do they go when they want to use a bathroom? I have gone to your train stations, and this is the only one that I've been to where I'm always, where are the bathrooms? I lived in San Francisco for 100 years, so excuse me if I sound like, where are these things? Because in the Bay Area, when you come to the train stations, you have bathrooms, or you know where they are. And that was my biggest concern, the bathrooms and the cover of the rain when it rains here. Now it's my safety. I'm concerned about my safety every time I get on the trains, no matter where I get on the trains at. I have people that's going to fight each other, jump up and cursing each other, and where's the policeman that I keep hearing about that's going to be putting on the trains? That's my biggest concern right now, is my safety when I'm riding the train and when I'm off, about the lights on the train where I park my car. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Miss Gloria, would you like to speak to Officer Lindsley? He is our person who can talk to you about safety on the trains.
Yes.
Would you raise your hand so she'll know where you are? Back there, you see the gentleman raising his hand? Why don't you talk to him and see what he can tell you?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Our next speaker is Jesse Jr. Soria.
Hello.
Hello.
Light ain't on. I came last month and I spoke on an issue about transit police abusing their authority and having a station concierge falsify a legal document. I've gone through the chain of command before I came last month. I put in a complaint with customer service or customer response. Nothing been done about it. That's why I came to the board meeting. Then I got a hold of the head of station concierge. I believe his name is Mr. Warren Thomas, and try to set an appointment to see him to discuss this matter with the secretary. And she called me back and saying that he says to file a complaint when I've already gone through the chain of command. I don't understand why all the other DART heads have to follow standard operating procedure and be present at the board meeting, but Mr. Warren Thomas, I guess he's above the rules or DART's standard operating procedure. I don't know, And, I just come to, find out, what's going on, Why can't I have a meeting to resolve this matter informally,
Thank you. Would you speak with Mr. Joe Coker? Would you raise your hand?
I've already spoke with him,
You wanna
but
speak to him
on a
again?
different issue,
Okay, maybe he can help you in what you're
I
talking
mean,
about.
y'all can't order Mr. Warren Thomas to, do his job and take care of his department like y'all paying him to. I mean,
We'll see what he can do for you, okay? Appreciate it, thank you. Sorry, the next speaker is Dan Sullivan, followed by Ada Yeager.
Good evening. I'm one of a number of people here tonight to speak in opposition to the upcoming fare hike. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. I don't believe I'm going to say anything that hasn't occurred to any of you, but I hope you'll forgive me for repeating these points in order to emphasize them. DART, of course, serves a number of valuable purposes. We know that it has served to stimulate economic development in certain areas, Mockingbird Station, Bishop Arts, and so on, but there are other purposes as well, many of which are going to be directly set back by a fare hike. We know that a fare hike will decrease ridership, making DART less available to people who have no other means of transportation, either because of medical issues which prohibit them from driving a car or because finance keeps them from doing so. We know that driving down ridership will also increase congestion on roadways and will have a negative environmental effect because one of the many benefits of public transportation is that it is more ecologically friendly than the use of automobiles. Of course, money has to be found, but money is found for many, many projects, which, in my opinion and the opinion of many other people, are less important than keeping DART fares low and making DART as available as possible to as many people as possible. There are many people in the city who rely on DART to get to work. There are many people in the city who rely on DART to get to medical appointments, who rely on DART to get to the grocery store, not to mention visiting relatives, social activities of these sorts. And people who are looking for a job, who've not yet found a job, are going to have it that much more difficult to get to prospective employers. Other people are likely to have to cut down on or delay activities which are very important in their lives. Of course, for many of us, a fare hike of this nature is not enough to really make it more difficult for us to ride public transportation, but we also have to be aware that for many people in the city, $1 or $2 can be a lot of money. And so I would like to reiterate that I urge the board to find another way to find funding and to reject the fare hike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Ada Yeager, followed by Cassandra Swart, pardon me.
Hi, my name is Ada. Thank you for listening to me speak. I'm here to talk about why I'm opposed, and many people I know are opposed to the upcoming fare hike. I know that part of the mission statement of DART is to provide safe, efficient, and effective transportation, mass transportation, to the Dallas public and the surrounding cities that DART services. Part of that goal would be to provide affordable mass transit, and I'm confused as to why we are looking at increasing the fares and not looking at ways that we can decrease the fares in order to increase ridership. I see it as an important way to address congestion and as a way to help people get around the city who don't have access to transportation or otherwise rely on it for their needs. I would like to talk about a friend of mine who was an orderly at Baylor, and she uses the train to get to work. And she doesn't make a lot of money as is, but this would directly increase her cost of living, making things harder on her. And I know that a lot of people depend on the DART, and this is going to force them to have to spend more money on transportation, and it's going to make them less able to afford necessities in their life and pay their rent. And I would like to understand, I guess, why it is we're proposing a fare hike and why we aren't interested in increasing ridership when we know that a fare hike would decrease ridership. So I would like to say on behalf of many people who would be negatively impacted by a fare hike that I'm opposed to it, and I don't understand why that's something we're even considering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Yeager. Ms. Swart? Mr. Swart.
Hello. I'd like to talk about the reasons why me and many others oppose this hike. Me and many people rely on DART as a cost-effective way to get around the city, and this fare hike would make it much more expensive to do so, and would cause us to spend more on transportation and other means to get around. And we rely on the DART to get to our jobs, to social events, to see relatives, and that's why I oppose the fare hike.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Stephen Shiver, followed by Michael Gonzalez.
Hello. I don't understand the point of a 20% fare hike on people who clearly need access to the city to get to their jobs and to get to what they need to get to. If people can't afford a car, they're going to need access. That's just how it is. A 20% fare hike is frankly cruel. You're hurting the most desperate and the people who need access to their jobs the most. You're not hurting people like on this board who have cars and can get around, and you're not helping congestion, you're not helping anything. I don't understand the point of a 20% fare hike, and that's why I oppose it.
Thank you, Mr. Schindler. Michael Gonzalez is our next speaker, followed by Alex Talecki.
Howdy, good evening.
Good evening.
I've been sitting in on a couple of board meetings for the past couple of months, and so far I've heard about safety issues for riders and drivers, unaccommodating facilities, long wait times, and quite frankly, poor locations. I've seen pretty expensive apartment complexes built up right next to DART stations and pretty affluent areas, and these people already have cars to get to and from work, and quite frankly, they have no use for the DART. Not as much as people who do not have as much money as them, don't have as much income. And I think these are all indicative of already mismanaged funds. And I would like to point out that as fares go up, ridership will decline. And I'd like to remind you that raising these fares is tantamount to an assault on the lives of those who depend on public transit the most. We are demanding now that you listen to the thousands of people who have voiced their opposition to this fare increase and vote against any fare increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Alex Talecki, followed by Sarisa Williams.
Hi. So we had thought that you were going to be deciding on the fare hike in March, but we would have had a few thousand more signatures against the fare hike if you had, but if you've pushed up your decision to this month, we have 6,175 signatures from folks we've spoken to all over the DART system who oppose the proposed fare hike. And it is still just a proposed fare hike, and you can choose not to vote for it. So, and at any rate, we have, these are arranged in stacks of 200. It looks smaller as a stack, but anyhow. So this represents all the people who have a hard time making it to weekday, not that long after work ends meetings, which is when the DART board always meets. And at any rate, yes, you still have a choice. Each and every one of you has a choice now. You can vote against the fare hike. I know that a lot of you have already decided how you're going to vote, but we will remember who votes for and who votes against. So thank you so much for at least having stripped out the two most regressive parts of the fare hike, the 140% regional increase and the end of the trade school program. That's still not enough. A 20% increase every 5 years is ridiculous. We already oppose the next fare hike, assuming you do pass this one, but again, you don't have to pass this one. So thank you so much, and we will see you at the next meeting, and the meeting after that, and the meeting after that. Thank you.
Ms. Talecki, would you like to leave those with us, or do you want to take them?
I guess we have copies, so yeah.
Okay. Nancy? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ms. Williams, Sarisa Williams, are you there? Okay, apparently Ms. Williams is not here right now. That's the end of our speakers for the beginning of the meeting. We have several signed up for after the meeting. So we'll go back to our agenda at this point. The first items are items 4 and 5, which are the consent items. They are the approval of DART's Title VI Fair Equity Analysis and the approval of grant submission and acceptance for rifle-resistant ballistic vests for DART Police. Do I hear a motion for approval? Second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, please press your yes button, and if you're opposed, press the no button. Has everyone voted? Thank you very much. Okay. The next item is the individual item, and it is the approval of the amendment to DART's fare structure. I'm going to ask Mr. Wageman to introduce this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to first recognize the participation of the public, not only at our meetings, but throughout this process. Your voices were heard by our staff and by this board. We have made adjustments to the proposed fare increase to accommodate the concerns, all legitimate, that you raised. And so I want to acknowledge your participation and its importance. The Committee of the Whole earlier today approved this fare increase, and I'm pleased to make a motion for its approval here today. This is an important component of our overall financial plan, and I want to make sure the public understands that as part of this, we will be considering more frequent but less costly increases over time, and that's something this board will take up immediately here in the coming months. With that, I'm pleased to make a motion for approval.
Mr. Killen?
Is it appropriate time now to have discussion on the on this item?
I believe so.
Great. So before we do the vote, I'd like to state my opposition and the reasons why. And typically, I would make these comments during our committee of the whole, but for the benefit of our audience that is here, I think that they would appreciate being able to hear the discussion in this particular form. And so, with that, I'm opposed to the fare increase. But in general, first, I'd like to say I'd commend the staff and the board generally for the amount of effort that we've had. One, to push back the fare increase to allow the new board members to get up to speed on the issue, as well as to make numerous changes as it relates to some of the more contentious, and I think the term was regressive, items that we had in the proposed fare increase. And so we've made sure that we've expanded the midday service to the weekend. We've gotten rid of the effort to remove trade schools and the regional reduced fare, and I think that speaks to the effort that our citizens have played and staff generally just taking the feedback that we have. And so I would just like to say thank you to the staff and the board for those items. And then I want to say that I fully support the programmatic changes that include the fare capping and stored value. I think for the heavy users, they'll actually see a decreased expenses compared to what they pay today. I don't know that in our presentations that particular message on the programmatic front has been received as well or shared as loudly as the structural changes. But I think that across the board, the entire board, and I think most of our citizens would agree that those are tremendous changes thanks to technology that I think everyone can get behind. With that said, I've got kind of three main reasons why I am opposed to the fare increase at this particular time. One is that I just generally would have liked to seen our programmatic changes separated from our structural changes. I think by trying to tie them together, we're going to be unaware of which particular items that we're voting on will have an impact on the future. And so by having the fare capping and the stored value and increasing the fares, we're not exactly sure what's going to cause ridership to go up or down. We're going to have to kind of guess, and it's going to be a game for us and staff to figure out which levers we're going to pull next if we're trying to increase ridership and increase the customer experience. And so I think we would have benefited from being able to introduce the programmatic changes ahead of time and kind of continued forward with doing the structural changes. The next one is that I think that the 20% increase that we have in our fiscal plan, which called for a change this year as well as 5 years from now, they're just numbers that were kind of picked, and they tie very closely with what a normal 2 to 3% increase over time would be. It matches up with about 20%, but there's no particular rhyme or reason that we have codified why it is 20%. And so I think that it would make sense for us to tie our fare increases to some very specific measurable index or measurable goal, whether that's wage growth, whether it's inflation, or the performance of our service. And so if we can say that going forward, we're going to increase police presence and we're going to add Wi-Fi at our stations, and we're doing all these things, and because of that, and it's going to increase ridership or increase the customer experience, then that's a motivating factor for us to increase wages. But right now, it's just 20%, and we throw everything in the bag, and I think it's difficult for our customers to understand why we're doing what we're doing, because it feels like we're saying that expenses have gone up, and so wages have to go up, and we're not necessarily tying it to any particular thing. And so I think for our next sets of fare increases, the board should make a very clear determination about when and why we do fares, and what we're going to tie it to, whether it's specific measurements like on-time performance or service hours or whatever the case may be, that it's clear why we're doing what we're doing. And then finally, my particular pet project would be the low-income riders being included in our reduced fare program. I think that we're mitigating a lot of the increase through fare capping and stored values, and that really addresses a lot of our affordability concerns. But I think that we could afford to go further. I think our minimum wage workers, as a place to start, should be given some form of relief in the form of being included. And so, considering the significant discount that we give to annual corporate customers who pay 75% of the already discounted annual pass, it's my assumption that we do that because we believe that those riders are quote-unquote choice riders, and we're trying to entice them, instead of driving to the central business district, to ride the rail because they have some kind of choice. And sometimes as a board and staff, we use the term transit-dependent riders or maybe captive riders, when in actuality that every single rider of ours is making a choice. And so even those that we consider transit-dependent, the term really is that they're our best customers. They're the ones who use us rain or shine, any time of day, but they still make the choice sometimes to, instead of use us, to ride with a friend or to buy a car or just not to make a trip at all. And so if we're going to try to entice corporate customers to ride us by giving a discount for those that already have enough money to afford to do whatever they want, I think we should apply that same logic towards riders who have less income and are still choosing to do other things. And so with that, again, I want to extend gratitude to all the customers and riders, citizens, advocates, everyone who's come down over the last couple of months. It's been a tremendous effort, and we appreciate the work that you've done in the community. And so with that, I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
We have a motion from Mr. Weichman. I heard a second somewhere. Mr. Enoch, excuse me, we're going to vote again on the machine, remember. So all in favor of the fare increase amendment, vote yes. All those opposed, vote no. It's close. The motion passes. So, apologize, excuse me. The next item is public comment again. So we'll begin the end of the meeting, public comment. Destin, Germany first, followed by Inka Smith, or Erica Smith, I'm sorry, I couldn't read the writing.
Hi, I would like to start off by saying good afternoon to the 7 of you that voted against it. Sorry. I also want to say thank you to Mr. Killen for at least trying to explain to us, the pushback or like any reason as to why you guys are even trying to increase the fare. So I really do appreciate that. And I also just want to add some stuff along to what he said, because everything he said was pretty great. But I think that moving forward, you guys should try to make more of an effort to let the public know what type of decisions you guys are making. Because had it not been for the people behind me, I wouldn't have even known about you guys, voting for this increase. I always talk about, because I speak up here a few, but I always talk about, I used to basically have to ride it every day when I was in high school. And whenever you guys changed the fares, that was something I learned about when I was basically, like on the bus, and you guys had already decided to do so without me having any input, right? And so I just think that moving forward, you guys should actually take into account the citizens and the customers and the people that actually do ride these services, because it can come as kind of a shock, especially in an economy like this, when, basically people live in paycheck to paycheck and wages are stagnant and they're not really moving at all. And I thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a good evening. And just moving forward, please just try to be, I guess, more courteous to the public and the citizens in this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Germany. Erica Smith, followed by Ms. Samuel. Is Erica Smith here? No, thank you. Ms. Samuel, followed by Joel Constantine.
I'd like to say thank you very much to the 7. Very much I'd like to say thank you. To the rest of you, you don't get it. You don't understand. Mark, Faye, y'all been here too long. And as God is my witness, we're going to change that. Because maybe y'all need to be elected by the citizens. That way you'll have a more concern for the citizen, because your whole objective for being on this board is to make good decisions for the citizens, for the riders, for your workers. Now, for as safety is concerned about this rail in the buses, it's no good. This new fare box y'all just bought, it's the old fare box, carried us backwards. Where they used to slide, where we slide in the cars now, we don't even have to look at them. But now, we got to take the paper again so we can be more sick than what we've been being. Because somebody want a kickback. Instead of buying the newer fare box, about the old ones that's going out of existence. Now, for safety, if you don't care nothing about the safety of your employees, I know you don't care about our riders, but I love my riders. Now, you got 2 people that's in your computer as senior manager, Central Rail, and manager, Rail Field Supervisor. They not over on rail. They in East Dallas. Do you know why? They have been accused of sexual harassment. And one of the young ladies got a baby by one of them. So I have to come to work with predators. You don't care nothing about my safety, so I know you don't care nothing about the public. Second of all, if your attorneys that you have, that you paying to do the job for this business, cannot win a lawsuit against ATU, and then you're going outside getting a bigger law firm that's going to cost more and more money, somebody needs to go in closed session tonight and fire all those attorneys.
Thank you, Ms. Samuel. Mr. Constantine, followed by Taylor Chrysler.
So first off, I want to say good evening, except to those of you who decided to take money out of the pockets of the working poor of Dallas. I originally came here to speak. I had remarks prepared basically to oppose the fare, but that's pointless now because it's already passed. So now this is more of a statement of intent. We're not done here. You see, all of my associates, my friends, my comrades who come out here, who I work with, who I put blood, sweat, and tears into every project that we do. We're going to reclaim DART for ourselves. We're going to reclaim DART for the people of this city. We're going to make sure that everything that serves us It serves everybody who needs to work, who needs transportation, who needs to get places, because we should no longer be held by 20-year recommendations that are older than some of the people who now ride DART, who rely on DART. Set in a different time, in a different country, in a different world that this was, under a different president, under different Congress, under different systems. Things have changed, and we're no longer going to let public transportation just be a term. We're going to make sure that the public stands for the public, that it stands for us. Because we're going to be that fly in the ointment. We're going to be the ones who are going to be pressuring you. We'll be here. We'll continue coming. We'll make sure that, that we no longer get these random fare increases that get moved up even a month ahead of time so that we don't have time to react, so that we don't have time to plan, so that we don't have time to educate the public on what y'all don't want to. Because we will do that. We're going to form a transit union that is going to have a say, because we no longer want buses that don't show up for an hour. We don't want transit that goes to suburbs with no buildings in them just for the hopes that developers will suddenly build there. We're going to make a transit system, and we're going to do it for all of us, one that is going to be reliable. It is going to be accountable to the people of Dallas, to those who actually need to get to work. And we will not sleep, we will not rest until that happens. And we will see each of you every single time y'all are here. We will make our speeches. We will talk about whatever we want to talk about, the issues plaguing us. Because that's what we want to do, because DART isn't just something for developers. It doesn't belong to y'all. It doesn't belong to the city council. It doesn't belong to any enterprise. It belongs to the public. It belongs to all of us. And we're going to make sure that it stays that way.
Mr. Chrysler?
Hi, I wasn't planning on speaking today, but obviously things changed. I've heard comments like flowers glorias from the beginning of this meeting. At these meetings once or twice a month in this room since June, they were about poor service and a lack of amenities, a fear for safety that comes with a lack of eyes on the street. Staff have admitted that the fare hike that was just voted on, voted on, will decrease ridership, and that exacerbates these problems. I've heard hundreds of these stories almost weekly on the train since then. You know that access to jobs, quality food, and the commodities necessary for everyday life all rely on having transportation to get around efficiently. So that's why I thank you deeply for removing the reprehensible 140% increases in this proposal. Especially since my friend Sherlin points out, none of you were democratically elected. But I also want to say that I was here when DART and the Regional Transportation Council voted to give $33 million in refunds to the Park Cities, even though they have a rail station with a massive parking lot across the street. And I was here when a board member asked staff to provide an analysis of affordability for riders, and staff refused that request. And these things we remember, and we definitely remember what happened today. So thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Grissom. We have one more speaker, Gina, and I apologize, it's McCain, I believe. I can't read your last name, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How do you pronounce it, Gina? Thank you. Thank you. Just like you wrote it?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry.
Sorry for my my tardiness. I just got off work. I'm coming today I left DART in 2016 because I had a fatal accident that disfigured my whole face and took me way back in time.
Can you talk into the microphone?
It took me way back in time. So I had to leave DART in 2016. I went to my senior manager to resign, and she said, thank you, and thank you for working for DART. Have a good life, no reason why. Well, I left, and I went to Florida, and I got all fixed up and all better. recharged and renewed. I tried doctors here in Dallas, Denton, the whole area. I couldn't get right. So when I went to Florida and I got right, I was advised to do what I know, which was DART, and what I love, because my mind had went down to a 6th grade level. So I came back to DART, this is what I know. This is what brings me back to life, my company. And now that I'm back, I was subject to go to the lowest grade, which was fine. But I just want to know, is there any way that I can get my seniority back? I'm not asking for pay. I'm not asking for anything else, just my seniority, because I have done 19 years with the company, and I've been loyal to this company for those years. And I don't know where else to go. I went to my senior manager. I went to Tim Newby, and everybody told me I need to just go over their heads. So the next place I have to go is here, to the board members.
Mr. Thomas said that he would be happy to review what you've just told us and work with the chain of command on that. Have you written anything formally, or is this the first time you've?
Well, I talked to my senior manager, which was Lisa Taylor. I went to the union. They said it wasn't a place where it said you couldn't get it, and it wasn't a place where you said you could get it. And then I talked to Tim Newby before he left, and he said, well, we all make decisions, and that's where it ended.
Okay, well, Mr. Thomas said he would look into it.
Okay.
And would get back with you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That is our last item of the evening. So having said that, I will adjourn the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Board meeting at 7:16. Thank you.
Ms. Williams,